Hello, hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well on this Thursday, August 26th, the 26th of August. It's almost September. What? What? I don't know. I don't get it. Whew. Anyways, you're tuning into another episode of the Afterlife Chronicles and Beyond on the WLTKDB network, also known as the Let's Talk.com. I am your host, Nicole Strickland. You can visit the site there, right there at WLTKDB.com or the Let's Talk.com. Of course, we are using StreamYard now, and so people can watch in various different ways right there on the website or on our Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter, all under WLTKDB. So that's fantastic. Lots of new additions to the site. Obviously, there's audio and a video on there. There's a new TV channel with all the shows, so you can create your own playlist, which is really cool. Brand new chat room on there. And then, of course, individual host pages as well. And then a merch section. So please shop our merchandise. Lots of cool things to have there as well. So before I bring in tonight's guest, I want to cover a little bit of some housekeeping. So we have coming up on the 20th anniversary of September 11th, 2021. The station is doing a special 9/11 tribute. More details to come, but please mark your calendars down for that day, September 11th, of course, this year. Time to be determined. And then, of course, our very first big event is taking place on October 30th at 4 p.m. Eastern. It's gallery readings for the world. So you can get amazing readings by 3 top psychic mediums, Diet Renee, Pete Orbea, and Missy Hart. And of course, yours truly is hosting it. So I'm really looking forward to that. Again, it's on Saturday, October 30th. It's an online event, $40 per person. So mark that down. I have a new book coming out soon this fall. I'm not sure which month, but the Afterlife Chronicles is what it's called, exploring the connection between life, death, and beyond. And that's about it for housekeeping. So tonight, it's about time that I've had this guy on. I should have had him on way sooner. But of course, Todd Bates, the entire mastermind behind WLTKDB, the Let's Talk Network, is going to be joining us. I am super excited. So Todd, how are you doing tonight? I can't quite hear you.
Hi, Nicole. I'm doing
There you
great.
go. There you go. Yeah.
Else with the mic.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm so. I saw your mouth moving. I'm like, wait. Good stuff, right? You know what? It's all good. You just got to go with the flow. You just got to go with the flow. I'm so happy to have you as a guest finally. I should have had you on months ago, but you know.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
So, yeah. Thank you for joining. So, I like to start out with the old standard. So what got you into the paranormal? So let's just start with that. I think it's a great question. Let's do that.
Oh, absolutely. My goodness. Well, I should say that I'm more of a skeptical person. I hold a lot of caution in my mind. Now, back in the day, I didn't believe in any of this. UFOs, are you kidding me? Bigfoot? Seriously, I used to laugh. I used to laugh. And I'd been curious, but yet didn't believe.
Right.
There was a small investigation team. They talked me into doing this haunted tour one Halloween.
Nice.
And a small investigation team here called the Crawford County, Illinois Ghost Hunter Society. I mean, he's Jason Snyder's old school. Well, he gets a hold of me. We get these tickets to his tour. And went to the tour, this old general store. Everybody just runs off and starts taking pictures and flashes everywhere. It's exciting. Well, I went straight back to this old barn and just sat there and started recording in the pitch black by myself, like a loner, a rebel. and
I love it.
Didn't capture anything, went home. And after talking to Jason, learned how to process it with the computer and things. And I had captured a horse, of all things, an animal in this barn. And I became obsessed.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh.
Still have that thing on cassette.
And so you were obviously using an analog, and we're going to get more into later on in the show, digital versus analog, but you were, of course, using an analog recorder, right? And
Yeah,
you didn't hear the horse at the time, right? So that's
I didn't
classic.
hear
Oh my gosh. So
anything.
what
And
was it? Was it trotting or did it actually vocalize the horse?
it vocalized. It was a,
Oh my
and it
God.
was,
That's a
two
good image.
stomps. It was a two, two, two stomps after, like something was upset that my presence was in there. You know how some
Oh
horses
my.
get spooked and they'll
Yeah, and they'll
stomp.
kick their back legs, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
Oh my
it's
God.
very similar to that. And that I was completely blown away. How did I not hear something like that? I mean, it wasn't like,
Right.
don't get me wrong, it didn't wail. I mean, it wasn't really pronounced, but you could tell what it was.
Of course, well,
And
that's great.
I just became obsessed with it and wondering, I was more obsessed with how in the world did that come on the recorder and I didn't hear it than it
Right.
actually a ghost or some kind of spirit animal. And that's what I started searching back then. There wasn't really much around. You really couldn't like pop on Facebook or you had to do some digging because it was still taboo a lot back then. Um, but I found a lot of people that had similar interest with this electronic voice phenomenon, and that's what kind of
I'm one of them. I'm one of them. So I get it. I get it. I get the obsession.
yeah, it's a huge thing, and I just I wanted to learn all I could, so I reached out to so many different people, and some would respond. They would explain why I captured this or what it may be instead. And that's when I met Sarah Estep.
Yes. So yeah, she was obviously one of the leading pioneers in the field, but she also founded the American Association for Electronic Voice Phenomena. So you studied under her.
Yeah,
How was that experience?
amazing. She took me under her wing. We emailed quite often before,
Wow.
several times before we sat down on the phone. We would sit down on the phone to go over different theories, different approaches, different classifications, things like that. And she was really good about explaining why, why you sit there and talk to them, but yet why you need to be respectful, why, there's just so much out there with communication, and you're talking to a person. And she definitely clarified that
Right.
people too, you're talking to them. They may not be able to hear you as well as others. It may be some kind of dimensional kind of communication. You're talking to them through different dimensions. It may be loose. It may be tinny. There's so many different variables when you're recording, and it's tough. It's really tough to pinpoint. Okay, how can I tell if this is a true EVP or if this was just some kind of accidental false positive I captured? So there's a lot of different things that go into that. That's why I'm glad that we're talking about this tonight, because
Yes.
it's something. I mean, I retired from the field because I get too active in it, and it's safer for me to stay out of it right now. I'm not saying in the future I might not pop back in there. Who knows? But for now, it's a good thing. With these captures and things, there's just a lot that people need to know, that it's
Right.
not everything it's cracked up to be, especially with the new stuff these days, all the sensitive microphones. You've got to be really careful. You have to be really careful with what you're recording out there.
That's interesting that you mentioned that, because you have all of these fancy zooms out and the task cams, and I own a Zoom H5, but I also still use my old Olympus and Sony recorders from like 10, 15 years ago, and I still get captures on those. So I think there's a benefit, when the mics are super sensitive, you take the chance of capturing a lot of false positives. So for you, you obviously prefer than using the older mics and even the analog recorders?
I do. And I haven't used some of the latest equipment, but I've used some newer equipment, your task cams and things like that. You just have to be really careful with them. But I prefer analog, and I will prefer that over digital. And I know it's harder to find these days. We're talking cassettes, reel to reels. These are the real things that you're going to get some great captures with this older equipment. You may not get as many, but you're going to get some really great pronounced captures with it. And my theory behind that is it's magnetic. I mean,
Right.
dealing with static electricity, these spirits are able to manifest and manipulate electronics via static electricity, and they somehow imprint themselves. And I think it's easier for them to imprint themselves onto a magnetic tape or magnetic device than it would be to capture their so-called sample rate, because they don't have any vocal cords. So,
and you can almost see that if you use Adobe Audition, so do I, and even in the spectral view, you can almost see the little nodules when, let's say, a living person is talking. That's a good way to determine, or one of the ways to determine, is it a living person talking, or is it maybe an alleged spirit? If those nodule, those little indentations are lacking.
mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, analog, I mean, I've used it too. And I agree with you. I think there's something about the magnetism.
There's something there. It's just, there's been too many captures. And I know that a lot of researchers have steered away from it because it gets expensive.
Yeah.
You can't really process a lot. You don't want to sit there and have to, just hit record for a 90-minute, 60-minute tape. You've got to listen to that in raw form, and it does take more time. But I think you do get less captures on there, but they're more pronounced. They're going to be more of your Class A types,
right? Or more phrases as opposed to just one time singular words. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I actually have a cassette. I don't use it that much, a cassette player, but I like I said, I agree with you. I think there's something about the magnetism, and you get asked a lot, many of us do. Well, how do you get an EVP on a recorder? That's the how. That's the unknown to me. I mean, I don't think any one of us can answer that.
Oh,
do you have any other theories besides just the magnetism aspect of it?
Just manipulation. That with the digital recorders, I was thinking, okay, so if they are composed of some kind of static energy, they're sticking to the magnetics. How are they sticking to a digital recorder? How are they able to imprint on that? And the only thing I can think of with that is inside it's a little tiny computer chip inside of those little digital recorders, and it judges your samples and the tones and everything that come through. How can they do that other than manipulating the small electronics that's inside of there to imprint themselves on something? I don't know what it is they imprint themselves on. Maybe that's why they're so low. We're not able to hear them because it's so far imprinted or embedded, so distant that we just can't get it through on a digital. But some of those come through very, very pronounced on a digital. It just depends. And it could be spirit energy. It could be how much energy they have. It could be maybe they're using energy from the environment.
Right.
Hence the cold and hot spots and so forth.
Exactly. EMF, all of that, or the investigators, maybe their energy. I think there's a lot of different variables, but I agree with you. It's interesting. I believe it was Frank Sumption, the developer of the Frank's box or Ghost box. He said that I believe he was the one that obtained the design components for the Frank's box directly from the spirit world. So that kind of, in a way, goes along with that theory that, they're able to manipulate. They know what they're doing We're just not necessarily privy to that information. But that's what makes the paranormal, in my opinion, so beautiful, is it is this unknown, and that unknown keeps you and motivates you to keep, investigating. So
it does. That's the motivation, is the unknown. Everybody's curious. Some may not want to admit it, but everybody's curious if there's a place we go after we die, or what happens to our loved ones, or, and this field, getting into this field, it's good closure too.
It is.
Someone that connects with a loved one, because they do, whether it be EVP, something in a picture they recognize, a medium coming in there and saying so. There's so many ways. And that's why I think a lot of people are starting to come out in the open more to, hopefully get a message, some kind of message from a loved one or someone that's crossed over that they know.
Absolutely.
A lot of them get in the field for that reason.
Oh, absolutely. That's very well said. I'm wondering now with sounds, like electronic noise phenomenon or audible noise phenomenon, kind of the same. I would think it's the same principle. If a spirited entity is creating that sound, it would imprint in a similar way that its voice would. Would you agree to that? Or do you have any other ideas with sounds, how those imprint on these devices?
I would agree. I would agree with that. The audible, this is where it gets tricky, and this is hence the obsession of not being able to find the answer. Is okay, this recorded just fine on my device, and I could hear it too. So that's double validation, especially when someone else hears it. I think the two go hand in hand, but I that's where I get confused, is how in the world can a spirit produce something so loud that we hear it with the naked ear?
Yes. And then other times not.
Yeah. It's, what are they using? What are they doing? And then you start to get into that with the conversation, which I don't recommend anybody doing that out there. Don't sit there and play 20 questions with them, because you're going to drive them nuts. They're not going to talk to you at all.
No.
But it's having the right equipment, the right people with you. I think that plays a big factor. I like working with mediums. I really do. I enjoy working with mediums in the field. I think they're assets.
Absolutely.
Because they're tapping into something that we're not able to.
Exactly.
Choose to. Some teams will choose a strictly scientific method, and they won't use a medium. Well, that's just as scientific as using the equipment, in my opinion. There's no better piece of equipment than the human body and common sense.
Absolutely.
So always try and bring some common sense with you. But having that with the recording, it can validate too. Let's say you bring a medium in there and you did a little bit of history, and you found that there was a Harold Simmons that used to live at this place, and you capture a male voice on the recorder, but you don't know their name. The medium might know exactly who that is. And it's just one of those things where you have to have faith in your team members, in the medium you're using, and all of it just blends so well and mixes together. It's not going to kill your credibility if you have a piece of EVP evidence and a medium validating that. That's not going to hurt your credibility. That's going to help it.
Absolutely. I mean, we were talking about this with Linda Myers on Haunted Voices radio last week, the importance of just not relying on just the science end of it, but bringing in the metaphysical and your body's senses. And I remember her saying, it's so important. I mean, this is often overlooked in our field, but develop your intuition, develop your innate psychic senses, do that first as a foundation, and then get involved in investigating. And that's so, so important. But yeah, I think it's interesting how, you can have 5 or 6 recorders in a room and not capture anything if you don't have all of the right components in place, meaning, team members, people's energy and all of that, So, oh my God, this is, I mean, I can talk about EVP all day. I know you can too. So interesting. Oh my gosh, but let's go ahead and take a quick break.
Sure.
When we come back, let's talk a little bit more about some of the EVP classifications and, in your opinion, going from setup to the actual session and then getting into reviewing a little bit. And then we have some of your audio clips to play as well. So we'll get into that after the break. You are tuning into the Afterlife Chronicles and Beyond. I'm your host, Nicole Strickland, with WLTKDB's mastermind and owner and manager, Todd Bates, when we get back. So stay tuned.
Sunday, October 24th, the 2021 Statler City Psychic Fair in Buffalo, New York. Come out and meet psychic medium and host of School Through Spirit, Diet Renee, and spirit medium and host of the Ghost Finders, Rob Thompson. Diet Renee is a renowned psychic medium, medical intuitive, and master teacher of psychic mediumship development. Hailing from Wisconsin, Diet trained under world-renowned psychic Lisa Williams. Spirit medium Rob Thompson is one of Diet's mediumship development students. He is the host and executive producer of America's longest-running indie paranormal TV show, The Ghost Finders, on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, and Roku. He has made guest appearances on other shows, including Discovery Channel's Paranormal 911 and A Haunting, and teaches paranormal research at the Los Angeles City College. Come and meet these two superb mediums together on stage for live gallery readings. Remember, Sunday, October 24th, the 2021 Statler City Psychic Fair. Get your tickets now at StatlerCity.com. That's StatlerCity.com. Doors open at 1, close at 6. Gallery readings, tarot cards, and more. Statler City Psychic Fair. Tickets at StatlerCity.com.
Minutes past the hour. You are tuning into the Afterlife Chronicles and Beyond. I'm your host, Nicole Strickland, and tonight's guest is none other than Todd Bates, WLTKDB's founder and manager and mastermind. And I forgot to mention that his show, Haunted Voices Radio, which I'm honored to be co-hosting along with him, is one of the longest running internet paranormal talk radio shows since 2004, I believe. And he's also he has many accolades in the field, and he actually was an advisor for A Haunting on the Discovery Channel for the Sally's House episode, as well as making appearances on WTHI, I guess it's a CBS affiliate, for the Ashmore Experiment 2-day event, as well as WTWO NBC affiliate as well. And like I said, including many other accolades. So Todd, thank you again for joining. It's been an awesome discussion about EVP so far. I know that we got into how you got involved in the field, and you discussed some of your theories for how electronic voice phenomena imprints itself on recorders and all of that. So let's get into now a little bit about the classifications of EVP, and then maybe setting up an actual session, how you would do that from start to finish.
Sure. So, yeah, the classification system, beautiful system. Developed by Sarah. She was a preschool teacher.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Oh,
she kept it simple with her ABCs.
Yeah, I love it.
I thought that was just classic. But you've got a class A, and there's a class B and class C. Your class A are going to be your more pronounced. Your class B, of course, will be something pronounced, then something inaudible, then something pronounced and audible, for example.
Right.
A class C, a lot of your whispers, things of that nature. So you would classify them that way. And it really does help organize what you have.
It sure does.
Put it in perspective. A class A, you need to have at least 4 or 5 other people agree that that's what it is saying, at minimum, at best, because without suggesting it to them. And some of these that we play tonight, they're labeled.
They are, yeah.
And that's okay. I apologize for that, but that's that's the way I have to have everything categorized in my little file world.
And that's the way to do it. I think that's an excellent way to do it. I'm going to play one of your Class A's in a second, but we've actually, my team has captured, this is very rare, but on a couple of occasions or a few occasions, we've captured EVP. So in regular playback mode, you can make out the word or phrase, but then just out of curiosity, I decided to reverse that portion of the EVP. I do this on some clips, not on others, but like I said, a few times I've reversed the actual EVP clip, and yet there's a different word or phrase that can be heard on the reverse. That's, like I said, different from the regular playback mode. Have you ever encountered that yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. I classified those as a Class X.
Okay.
When they were reversed.
That's so...
It is.
It's so interesting how that happens.
It's almost the only way, and this is going to go really, really far down a rabbit hole here, folks.
That's okay with me.
The way I can think of is they are imprinting somehow, because they can't just come up to a microphone. Hey, how you doing?
I know.
The vocal cords, there's no vocal cords, so there has to be some way. So they transmit it somehow. Now, when they transmit it and you have one in forward meeting and one in reverse meeting, well, that takes some talent for that to be even heard in a reverse meeting. The only way I can explain that and maybe write that off is that is like an alternate universe kind of twist. You have one coming one way, one coming from another way. Because if you listen to one with a reverse meaning, you'll see that the reverse meaning sounds very distant. It sounds almost inaudible sometimes.
You're absolutely. It's almost like it's emanating from a different dimension, like further away. I've encountered that as well with the reverse.
And you have to be careful with reverse meanings because of pareidolia or matrixing, as
yes,
AKA for it. You can hear things. Your brain can only process one of these sounds at a time and try and place it. When you have a lot of complicated sounds in there, you'll matrix a little bit, and you'll start. So take frequent breaks, especially when you're working with anything reverse, because it may just be that reversed, and it may not have no meaning whatsoever. But you're just hearing this gobbledygook in reverse. And if you listen to it over and over and over, it's going to sound like something. So don't do that.
That's like a common rule when listening. I usually listen for maybe about 10 minutes, and then I'll take a little bit of break to let my brain just kind of, quiet down and then go back to reviewing. But I like your theory on that though, because, with EVP, you can have 5 different people that all hear something different. Does that mean they're all right or all wrong? No, not necessarily. It could maybe mean that particular spirit has 5 different things or words or whatever it wants to impart. So that kind of correlates to the reverse as well. Maybe it's 2 different, a question is asked, but yet there's 2 answers for that question, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I like your description of the interdimensional theory there. I think that's phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, I've had that probably happen for me about maybe 4 or 5 times. I don't know about you with reverse.
I've had several reverse. A lot of them I wrote off as false positives or reverse, but I didn't send any of those examples along. But there's a couple of them that did have a reverse meaning and had no forward meaning, which I found very interesting.
Oh, that's intriguing. Wow.
Mm-hmm. That has happened in the past as well, that, you'll hear like a forward, but you play that in reverse. And let's say, for example, it says, please help me. And that can happen as well. So make it a habit when you're processing your EVP, take that extra step And because all the programs, even the free programs, have the reversing capabilities now. Try that.
Yes.
Be careful with it, but try that, because they may have something else to say to you literally on the other side of that message.
Exactly. That's exactly. And it's when you think of a photograph and how you can invert the image, it's similar. I guess a reverse is kind of like the inversion of the audio. So I'm wondering if it has to do too with the frequency. For some reason, the energy flow is opposite, in their dimension, just like what you were mentioning. Oh my gosh, it's so fascinating. But we have one of your class A's here. Okay, so I'm going to use the old fashioned, let's put the smartphone to the mic. I know.
Yes.
I know. It's the cheat way, y'all, but you know what? It works. So don't fix what's not broken. So I'm going to go ahead and play that now. I'm going to play it again. Okay. So obviously you want to, we all can hear what that said, but to your clip. So what are you hearing there?
That was captured in Vincennes, Indiana.
Nice.
At called Cannonball Bridge. It's also nicknamed Purplehead Bridge. And the strange thing, it's an old train bridge. That's where they used to turn the trains around. And with this particular capture, there were 3 of us there, and we were standing out near the center of the bridge. And that's where that was captured during that session, of what it sounds like a little old lady saying hello.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Because it had that elderly hello in there with it. And that was none of us heard that, of course. That was found later after everything was analyzed. And when you're sitting there listening to a cassette and you hear that shh, that constant hiss in the background that you do, then you hear a question, then you hear shh, hello. That was just, it completely consumes you.
It does. I know exactly what you mean.
You got a voice. Okay, now we have a voice. Let's tie this. Let's find a name. Let's find out who this is. And then boom, it's on. You go back and you try to do another recording session, another one, but you never get that same voice again.
Right. Isn't that phenomenal how that happens? It drives you nuts too, but it's phenomenal. Let's play that again. One more time. Yeah, when I listened to it too, I was like, oh my God, it sounds like a cute little old lady,
like grandma saying hello. But when you get those, that was captured on an analog recorder. The comments were coming in there. But yes,
it's okay. Don't worry about those.
But
it's a phenomenal capture.
With something like that, it's short, it's sweet. You may never hear it again. I can't say for sure if that was interactive or if that was residual. That could have been because we were asking random questions. And that one came after the question, is there anyone here that would like to speak with us? And then this comes.
Okay. That's okay. That to me is maybe more intelligent, but you never know. That leads me to, I just was reminded, and I'm sure this has happened to all of us in the field, getting an answer to a question right before that question is asked. Now that blows my mind. Have you had that happen?
I've known people that have had that happen. That's never happened to me. Has that happened to you?
Yeah. It has a few, I wouldn't say that often, but enough to where I recognize it now. And to me, the only fear I have for that is it's some sort of time differential, or they're intuitively knowing ahead of time what I'm going to ask. I don't know. If anyone else has any theories, by all means, because to me that just blows my mind.
It's psychic in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into so Class B now. How would you define that? Similar to Class A, but a little different.
Okay. A Class B, you just heard the example of the hello.
Right.
You would hear the hello, and then let's say after she said, "My name is,"
right. Mm-hmm.
So that kind of, it's not as high grade. It's there. Something was said. They tried to make some kind of structure out of it, but it's just inaudible. So that would be a Class B, and it's really tough to group that because you want to go, okay, well, you can hear them say hello, but you can't hear them say the name. So it's got to be a Class A because you can hear hello. If that is included in the clip, as a whole, right, that is a Class B, and it's okay to have a Class B. It really is. It's okay.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Yes. Even Class C's. They're,
the more, the better.
Right.
Because to say with the way technology is going these days and the way these gadgets are coming out, that here in the future, they can't take some of these Class C's and clean them up so well that they're not. But then you come at that question. Okay, I have a Class C. This new product I got, amplified it, cleaned it up, pronounced the vocals better in there, enhanced those. Is it still a Class C? Yes.
Right. It is, because that in its raw form was a Class C. Right.
So I think with Class C and make an A out of it.
Right. That makes sense. And I know with Class B's, some people may hear and others don't, but I like how you use the example of, okay, maybe one word can be totally heard and understood, but the rest of the clip is not. And right. So that's a good way to put that. We do have a Class B example. I'm going to play it 3 times and then you can explain it and then I'll play it again. One more. All right. Interesting. I think I may hear part of it, but not all of it.
Well, one thing I clearly heard was the name Jill.
Okay.
And what I feel that says is, "Come here, Jill," and then it's inaudible. And
okay.
But you can tell, like I was saying, you can still hear her talking. It's inaudible. You could, and then if you listen to this over and over again, this pareidolia is going to consume your mind.
Right. Right.
So things where you want to listen to it about 3 times, walk away.
That's a good rule of thumb. I almost hear at the end there, what are you doing? What are you doing? But that's just my ears. I don't know. So
that's actually what I think that EVP says is, "Come here, Jill. What are you doing? Where are you going?"
Yeah. Let's play it again. Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's interesting. I mean, the length of that too, because these phrases are, again, more common on the analog, but where were you when this was captured?
That was captured in the Sally House. That was a station.
Oh, yeah. Okay, great. Oh my, and you've done a lot of research there.
Stationary recording, different types of experiments there for years in that house before it became a tourist attraction,
Right.
Now it's pretty much bed and breakfast.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I think you had some quality time there.
Some quality time alone with the house. And it's good. It's good to get to know a location before you go in there and you start talking to people. Get to know the people that may have lived there. Check some history. But that was in the Sally House, a stationary recording in the upstairs bedroom, the one off to the right. Those of you guys that have been there. And it was just stationary. There were no questions asked. This was processed. Now, when I did stationary recording in there, I would set it up and I would literally leave. I would go across the street. I would leave the area. And that can be good and bad as well, because there was no one there to hear, to listen to any false positives that may have come across. Who's to say that someone wasn't standing outside screaming, "Come here, Jill. Where are you going? What are you doing?" And it came up on the recorder. But if you notice, when you listen to that, you'll hear that tin sound. Tinny, distant.
Like always like a robotic tinny sound. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that wasn't, because you can get that from overcorrecting your file as well. It will do that real bad. That one has had no correction. That one's just been digitalized. That's all. But you hear that weird noise in there, and I don't know what that noise is. That's the thing.
It makes it more likely to be something, anomalous. Do you have an idea, because you've done a lot of research there, as to who that might be? Obviously, it sounds female to me.
Yeah.
But,
the only thing I can think of, because there wasn't any family members there with the name of Jill, it may have been one of the little girl's friends. That was maybe a residual of them playing in the room together. Unknown.
That could be.
Because there's no names tied. There's no Jills or anything tied to there. But what's known to haunt that house is little Sally, her mother, and the doctor.
Okay, so those are the three. So maybe it is someone that maybe they knew. That's a location I've actually been wanting to visit, because I know a lot of people like yourself that have done research there. So
there's a lot to learn there.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Definitely be careful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think each place you go to, obviously, you learn something new, and each location is different in its own right. But there goes Kaylee, right on time. So, God, please. It's not an EVP well, you guys would hear it, right? So it wouldn't be an EVP. It would be an audible voice phenomenon of a cat, but that is Kaylee. So, I've heard a lot of great things about the Sally House. But let's move on to Class C. I have one here. I'll go ahead and play it a few times, and then you can explain it.
Is anyone here sick?
One more time.
Is anyone here sick? Is anyone here sick?
Okay, so that's you asking the question, is anyone sick? And then I do hear something, but I'll let you say what you think it is.
Class C, you hear a response, and you hear some kind of, but it's such a whisper. Now, when I amplified that, I could hear what they were saying, but that's altering. So Class C is a Class C, and that's where that one stayed. But what I heard, the response of a male voice at the end saying, "I am."
That's exactly what I heard. It's funny, when I first listened to it, I thought it was a cough, but then I listened to it 2 more times, and I said, "Oh, I'm hearing I am." That's, and you made a good point about Class C's. They're just as valid as a Class B or a Class A. Do not throw those out, guys. No. It's another piece of data there.
Yeah.
So I can't agree more. Wow, that's really cool. And where were you again with this one?
Let's see. That one was the old Quaker schoolhouse.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Little one-room school. And we captured, and it was strange. You think, okay, you're at a school, you're going to capture a bunch of children. Now, there were children there, don't get me wrong, but there are also a lot of adult spirits there. And I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe they visited there. That could be residual from some kind of big shindig they had at the school, when they had parents teacher conference or whatever they had back then. I don't know. But there were adults. We got a lot of adult voices there as well. So it was an interesting location, and it was almost, maybe that spirit was a ghost and didn't know that they had died or were dying. They just still thought they were sick, And he just answered sickly, I am. It's just, that's the motivation right there.
Exactly.
The small, to me, little things, the smaller, the better. Because
right?
I don't want to capture an EVP that says, yes, I'm right here. Heaven is wonderful. I tell you what, off to my left, I don't want an EVP like that.
I know.
It takes away all the mystery, all the, it's these little tidbits that people are giving you here and there.
You know what? God, you said that so well. I can't agree more. It reminds me of when Allie and it was 2017, and I was speaking at the Preston Castle Paracon. Preston Castle is up in Ione, California, so a little bit kind of near Sacramento, a very small little town. Preston Castle, or Preston School of Industry, is just a hotspot location in Northern California. And we were in the sick ward area. And so Allie had this idea when we were driving up to stop and get comic books as a trigger object.
Good idea.
Because they didn't really have TVs back then. So when we were there, Allie sat a comic book on each one of the beds. And so we were recording, and gosh, I forget exactly verbatim what it was, but Allie was saying, we got these comic books for you. We hope you enjoy these. And then, now, this was an audible voice phenomenon because I heard a response to that. And then when we played it back, it was a younger male saying, thank you. Just something like that. Just, like you said, it motivated me. It was so special. So, yeah, insane. You have some other ones here. You have one of, I'll go ahead and play it, and then you can preface it. So. Oh, this is a hard one to hear. I mean, hard is an emotional. Wow. Yeah.
One is by far
one very emotional.
Favorite captures and most emotional captures. And that was captured outside of a private residence here in Robinson.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. The house was burned to the ground.
Oh my God.
And the story behind this is extremely heart-wrenching. There was some mob activity around here, I guess. And a guy was cheating on his wife and wanted his wife removed, if you know what I mean. So they went to do that. She was murdered. The guy set the house ablaze. One thing he didn't know were there were 2 kids in the closet. And it's horrible, absolutely horrible.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
It's a terrible, 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 terrible place. They were found holding hands in the closet.
Oh my God. Oh no.
It tore me up when I heard the backstory of this. But this particular thing was captured on an analog. We didn't go inside that night. We were outside. And that was captured on the front porch of the home. Just residual. I don't know what all the sounds are. I know there's, is it the sound of the house burning and crumbling to the ground and people screaming inside? Is that the sound? Because she was killed with a baseball bat, of all things, bludgeoned to death. And you can almost hear the swoosh of it's a horrible thing. And I had it on the old Haunted Voices website for quite a while. And then people requested I take it down. It was tearing them up.
I think that's the best. And in lieu of that, I'm going to elect not to play it anymore, just because it is very, very heart wrenching.
That is the best example of a residual capture that I have.
Jeez.
And that's the only I use that for training purposes. And these things are out there. It's not all fun and games what you capture. Um, there's some things that really sit very raw with you. And I got to the point, Nicole, I had to talk to a priest. I had to cleanse myself because of all these different things I was involved in and had experienced and were in my head. Noises such as what we just heard, you can't get these things out. It's like, what is this? What is this? And so you have to check your sanity quite a bit in this field when you're in this field, especially doing like that.
Right. I mean, that you make a good point, having that balance of, being physically, emotionally, and spiritually balanced is imperative. Has anyone done any sort of, whether it's spirit rescue or any sort of, work to try to help those, if they're still there, facilitate some peace, maybe moving on? That might be very worthwhile to do at that place.
Be much, much, much appreciated. If anybody can even do that remotely,
get
in touch with me. I will put you in touch with that location remotely, and you can work your magic with that, or come out and do it if you want. But something needs to be done. The place needs put at rest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that just, if that doesn't tug on your heartstrings, then you're not human, obviously. I hate to say that, but I don't know. I mean, I would have been a wreck after capturing that. So, do you know the names, not to say on air for confidentiality, but do you know the names of those that were lost?
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay.
No.
I'm wondering if there's any articles on it.
I know the name of who murdered them. They found that out. But the actual people, I didn't do. It's one of those things where I don't want to know.
Right. Yeah.
It would stick to me so bad because then I would have an intimate connection with them, and that would stick with me worse because in the field, as well as I do, Nicole, we need closure. We have to leave it at the gate, so to speak. Can't bring it home with us. And it's hard when you come across things like that, not to bring it home with you, not to take it personal. But it's luck of the draw. Any way you slice it, it really is. It's how you present yourself. It's how you respect them. It's who you're with. There's so many factors when it comes to recording. They're few and far between.
And let's while we're on this, let's talk about the respect aspect when you are doing a recording. I mean, it should be every second of every investigation, but when you're doing a recording, having that respect, so like, for example, I choose not to ask questions. How did you die? When did you die? All of that. I like to leave that out.
Right.
But, for someone that's just starting out in the field and is not used to the EVP methodology, what would you tell them about the respect aspect?
Respect is key first and foremost. Talk to them as if you were meeting someone new for the first time.
Right.
Mind your manners, and minding your manners includes asking them, how did you die? That is just rude.
Right. Thank
casual
you.
Conversations. You want to use casual conversations with them just like you would anyone else. It's when you start the session, you want to record the date, note the date, things of that nature, the location, where you're at. And then you simply just want to reach out to them. Are there any spirits located here that would like to speak? We cannot see or hear you. You can speak into this device. It will capture your voice. There's so many different ways you can open that up. But just remember, once you open that door, you need to close that door at the end of your recording if you're doing it.
Very exactly. Yep. You don't want to just, leave without saying anything. I know that, every time before I conduct a recording, I have a little opening statement and I address and let them know, I'm going to try my best to hear you. But if not, we do have these devices that can capture your voice and sound. We will do our best, yada, yada, yada. We come as friends, blah, 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 blah. But then at the end, we thank them. We say, thank you so much for communicating with us. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're going to get more. You're going to get more with that. For sure.
Yeah, that's just like in the real world where we're at. You're going to get more with honey than you are with vinegar.
That's exactly right.
The golden rule still applies. It really does.
Yes.
You do get, I think, better captures. I think
Mm-hmm.
give them some time. Like if you're going to a new location and you're recording, give it some time. Go there, a couple weeks. Let them get to know you. Then you'll see that the communication will start to begin. It may start with one word. It may start with a sentence. It may start with something flying across the room. We don't know, but that's the mystery, is just have patience with this field. Definitely don't rush it. Definitely don't rush a recording. Don't sit there. What's your name? Where are you from? What's your favorite color? What'd you have for dinner last night?
Oh, I know, right? Don't make it interrogative, right? Make it more exactly. Make it more like a discussion. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's common sense. This is common sense, people.
It really is. And it works. And what I've also noticed is people, they have a tendency, let's say you and I are doing a session, or I'm doing a session, and you're there and I start talking to you. Just, I start saying something. There's been a lot of captures where the voice will come right over.
Yes.
And right in there and talk right over you and I.
Exactly.
That's happened as well. Unexplainable. Maybe they're using a frequency off of our voice to.
Right. That's always been my theory. Yeah.
There's just so many cool ways out there. That's why I love the field too much. That's why
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
It's never ending. It's never ending.
Yeah. That to me, it's the ambiguity of it makes it, to me, more attractive and more of a beautiful thing to study. You are a wealth of knowledge, my friend, when it comes to paranormal research and EVP research and radio broadcasting. I mean, I did say that, my gosh, you've had Haunted Voices Radio since 2004, but I mean, what you've done with WLTKDB, I mean, everything is just tremendous. So you really do need to pat yourself on the back. There's a couple more captures. Obviously, we don't have time, but there's a lot that we did not get into, like ITC and all of that, and kind of doing setting up a mock session and going from start to finish. So I'd love to have you back on. We can do a part 2.
I would love to. I would love that.
So yeah, this is a really great episode. Lots of good information. Thanks so much for coming on, Todd. Let's see. Next week, I have Allie Schreiber on. She's a dear friend of mine, co-director of the San Diego Paranormal Research Society and co-host of our Spirits of the Adobe tours at the Rancho Buena Vista Adobe. So it'll be great to talk with her. She has some really interesting experiences with the afterlife that I'm sure she'll want to share. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us tonight. Thank you again, Todd, for coming on. This episode, like all of them, will be archived as well. I hope everyone has a great weekend, and we will see you next week. And that's about it. So yeah, have a good night, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Good night.